Hello there. Yeah, it's Tony at Tony's Wicked Cool Garage Guy. We're on location today at my friend's house, my friend Pat, because he's got a lift and it's really nice. But today's mission is, you may remember Project Power Laggin, and yeah, bad things happened to Power Laggin. To the last time we did one of these. Well, some good things happened and then some bad things. I swapped on some really great hooker competition exhaust headers and all that. We did an MSD fuel injection, the Atomic 2 setup. It's really nice. Got it all dialed in. And yeah, let's take a look. So got that all dialed in and works great. The tuning functions are fantastic. Learning a lot about tuning. Yes, there's a wiring nightmare over there, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. But yeah, what ended up happening is, well, the timing chain decided to, stretch as they do on old Mopars. And this one had the nylon timing teeth, and yeah, it fell off. Bent 5 push rods, and I believe the intake valve on the number 1 decided to kiss the piston. Made a little bit of a mark. But bought new push rods, but a new timing set, and it somehow had compression still, and just ran it. Well, they ran it until the springtime here, and yeah, knock went the 318. So this happened. This is a Magnum 360 out of a 97 Ram, and did a really basic spray can rebuild because it ran when it was pulled, and that is going not in that, but in that. So, yeah, let's get started here. All right, so show you why we're doing this. Hopefully it comes through on this video of how knocktastic this is. Check this out. Yeah, it just barely made it here. Oh, there we go. Sounds great. Wonderful. Oh, it's also got like a lifter tick now too. That's new. It has begun. Right now, this is my friend Greg.
What's up?
Greg and I go way back. Probably too far back. And, well, he hates my guts because he always gets involved in these stupid projects. So, Greg right now is unbolting the header bolts. And here's a pro tip. You probably know if you're watching this because you're interested in these little Mopars, but let's say it anyway. These front bolts here and the back ones. Rookie mistake with those on these exhaust manifolds or headers is, well, there's coolant behind them because Mopar put the coolant jackets right there. A lot of fun when you don't know that and you kind of unbolt it and all of a sudden you have a coolant fountain happening while you're trying to swap exhaust. It confused the hell out of me when I put these headers in. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And yeah. So make sure you drain the coolant before you do those, or just be extra careful. These nuts, right, yeah, that thing right there. They tend to kind of stick with the bolt. So if you can somehow get them off by themselves, you can just pull it right out. But yeah, this is a pro tip for you. But yeah, we're pulling everything out, and yeah, lots of fun. All right, so as you can see, we got Pat here with the hoist. Yep, great. Greg's over there probably cursing my name as usual. We have another Pat here. Hey, what's up?
Oh, hi. You got Lucas with the
And look at this little guy. This is Lucas. He's big help today. Yeah. And yeah, we're gonna try to just yank this guy out. Everything's disconnected. Radiator's out. Let's see what happens. See what we forgot. Test the tension of all the wires that we forgot to take out.
I think that exhaust still kind of hooked.
Now we're leaking something.
Watch out, Lucas. Lucas.
There we go. And there goes all the coolant. Yeah. Load levelers are fantastic when you're doing this. Yep.
Lucas, please. Lucas.
Eventually, it'll even out.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe
I
not.
don't think the front,
Oh, there we go.
front chain guy and back chain guy talk to each other. I'll go the other way.
Up you go.
Starter was playing a role.
Now, this is, to our knowledge, the first time this engine has been separated from that transmission since sometime in the winter of 1978. So, out it comes. We'll get this up on a stand, and yeah.
Let's see how much hoist we run out of.
Yep. There it goes. There it goes. The knock machine has been released from its home. And yeah, there used to be an engine in there. So now comes the fun part.
You have a spare stand?
Yeah, your stand is here, but not your back.
Many hours later, here is a 360 Magnum in my 79 Dodge W150 Power Wagon, aka Power Laggin. We're just getting the hood bolts on now. Obviously, the atomic EFI is not quite installed yet, but yeah, it's in there. We had some trouble with the engine mounts. We had these guys read conflicting information on the interwebs about, oh yeah, the LA 318 mounts just bolt right up, dude. No, they don't. Well, they kind of do. The passenger side here, yeah, it went right in. Driver's side, however, has a spacer in there and did not go right in. But we had a prolific magic bolt bucket here at this garage and just went through it, and I found a bushing spacer, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, it's in there, but got the radiator back in mostly. Take another look over here. Yeah, it's a starter, don't ask. But maybe you can kind of see down there, there's a little bushing in the way, but it worked perfectly. Everything lined up. But, you know, it took like 2 hours to figure that part out. But engine's in. Next up, we have to, well, do the rest of it. So, lots of things to do. Got to get it back up in the air, get the torque converter bolts done, get the distributor in, get the ignition system squared away. Obviously, the fuel system plumbed back up. Headers have to go back in, all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's in there. That's a Magnum 360 in this Power Wagon. Many days later, like a week and a few days, let's try this again.
Where's Lucas?
Check for leaks. Says I have oil pressure, but I don't trust the gauge. It's smoking because everything leaked everywhere. There is a lot of oil under the intake.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's like a trough of oil.
Need to do something about that right now. Well. It's now a few weeks after the swap, so I figured I'd give a quick update in the video. Yeah, so check this out. This is it. Yeah, we had a little mishap during the last the last segment there. Essentially, we had a massive oil leak. One of the oil sending units, because there were two of them on the truck, one from the old warning light and one from the oil pressure sending unit itself for the actual gauge that's now in the truck, backed out and spilled oil everywhere. The underneath of that quote-unquote air gap intake, well, it was more of a oil bath intake. And I don't mean like the 1950s stuff. I mean, it was a swimming pool full of oil. So with that all cleaned up and a number of other things sorted, the truck finally does truck things again. So start her up. So put that phone down right there. Okay, be right back. All right, so here we go. So again, this truck left the factory with a LA 318, as many of them did back in '79, as many of the Ting grills did during their run. You could also get a 360 LA, of course, a straight six, a leaning tower of power, or you could get the very, very, very rare, I've only seen one of these things, diesel. It was I believe it was a Mitsubishi turbo diesel, and they were very, very rare. There's probably 1,000 or two that were built. I've only seen one surviving example. It's to the point where they're mythical, but they did build them. So this had a 318, as you know, as if you've watched the rest of this video, it was not happy. After 43 years of faithful service, it just decided it was done. And that's fine. It did a good job for a long time. So, this Magnum style 360. The Magnum engines, of course, came around in the early 90s. They first ended up in the what the kids call the first gen Ram, even though it really kind of wasn't the first gen, because they made plenty of Dodge trucks before. I think they started calling them Ram in 1980, which is basically this. So, but anyway, early 90s they started putting those in vehicles. Big changes that they made to them were, of course, that there's a roller cam inside, so they have roller lifters. They can use modern oil. You don't need to run like an additive, a ZDDP thing. You don't need all the extra dinosaurs and vitamins and minerals of the old oil. You can run modern oil. In fact, this takes 5W30, just like my daily driver Kia does. I actually use the same exact oil I used in that thing. And yeah, pardon the shaky camera. It's a 43-year-old pickup truck, 4x4, and we're digging on some backcountry roads here, so my apologies. But yeah, it's this engine had 138,000 miles on it when I pulled it from its running truck that it was in at the junkyard. Actually, they pulled it for me, I won't lie. Much easier to have them do it, and the price was excellent. And they said they would do it and even load it into the back of this truck to drag home. So I wasn't going to argue there. But the truck, as far as the guys at the junkyard told me, they drove the truck there into its final resting place. And yeah, I ended up scoring it for a good price. I took it home, cleaned it up, had to do a couple things here and there, extract some broken exhaust studs, run a tap through pretty much every bolt hole I could find, clean the block, do a thorough inspection of the internals. And what I found was an engine that was in fantastic condition. I mean, I've heard stories of these Magnum engines with 200,000+ miles on them looking like they're brand new inside, and this was no different. 138,000 miles were on this example, and the thing looked like it was barely broken in. I pulled a rod cap to take a look at the bearings, and you know what? They looked fine. And I got a lot of flack for putting it back in on bankshift.com on my last post up there, my last update. And understandably, I can understand why somebody would be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why aren't you putting new bearings in? And to that fact, I say, oh, these looked fine. The thing ran great when it drove to the junkyard. And I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, and he made a good point. He told me, Tony, this is 1990s metal we're talking about. Think about the stuff that's made today. Think about the bearings that are available today. These are tri-metal bearings in this engine. Most of the replacement bearings out there are aluminum bearings. And there's nothing wrong with them, except that expect less life out of them. Most new modern engines use aluminum bearings, and that's fine. And most rebuilds, that's fine. But you know, this is a truck. It's going to see hauling duty, going to the dump, hauling a bunch of crap in the back. Who knows? Maybe towing. You never know. So I want it to be dependable. And the oil pump, I kept the stock oil pump. It had good oil pressure. I'm not messing with it. This thing has great pressure. I thought my old gauge was broken when I was getting a reading of 30 to 40 at startup and then zeroing out. I thought the wiring was bad. Turns out the engine was bad, as we know now. This gauge shows about 40 to 50 PSI right now as I'm driving around, and you're not going to get better than that. Remember, 138,000 miles. This engine is bone stock. It's got fantastic oil pressure. It runs great.
The tune that I'm running is the last one I had on the 318. Did a little bit of a tweak here and there, but not much. It's really the same tune. And what they say about these, the MSD Atomic 2 and the Holly Sniper is you really want to have something with about 200 horsepower and up to about 650 to really take advantage of what it has to offer. It's got an 850 CFM throttle body and 4 pretty good sized fuel injectors. Of course, you can customize how much fuel flow is coming out of them, but it really wants north of 200 horsepower. And judging by some of the videos I've seen on the interwebs, a junkyard fresh 360 Magnum with just headers is good for about 300 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. And I know that's not a lot compared to some of the stuff that's out there today, but I'm looking for reliability. I'm looking for this thing to last. 300 horsepower is more than double what the 318 made when it was new, let alone what it was making when I dragged this thing home. So it's plenty for what I'm doing with it. And let me tell you, it's got way more power than the 318 ever did. I can tell you that right now. This thing goes. I mean, it's got power to spare. This is, with my very large posterior in this truck, it weighs in right about 5,000 pounds on the nose. This is a heavy truck. This is a half-ton from 1979. This whole thing is steel. It's no plastic or anything else like that. This is an old school truck. And it's heavy duty. You know, solid axles, leaf springs, the whole deal. It's got a lot to haul around, and it does it with this engine. I'll tell you that right now. Really happy with the swap. We did, as I showed in the video earlier, ran into a couple snags when we were swapping it in. The engine mounts on a 318, an LA 318 in a truck, are slightly different than the 360 ones from an LA 360 truck. And I found that out the hard way. I heard on the internet, I read on the internet that they were the same in some places. I read that they were different in some places. I read you can't do it at all. This engine doesn't fit in the truck in some places. And I read that it just drops right in. And for all intents and purposes, it pretty much just plopped right in. I had to add a small bushing that I found a small bushing in my friend's parts stash, and it just made up the difference on the driver's side mount, and it bolted right in. Of course, I could have cut and hacked it or just gotten the 360 mounts, and I still might get the 360 mounts, but you know what? It works. The alignment's fine, everything's good. Speaking of alignment, the flex plate on a 360 is weighted. Well, Magnum 360, I should say. Magnum 360s are externally balanced. So there's a weight on the flex plate and there's a cutout on the harmonic balancer as a counterweight, basically. So you have to run that setup. You try running the stuff from a 318 or an LA 318, it's not going to go well for you. You will have a bad time. So to make the flex plate fit the torque converter of a TorqueFlite 727, the old trick is you have to hog out one of the bolt holes slightly for alignment. Very easy to do. Just got a little nibbler tool, zipped it out a little bit, and you just bolt it on. 3 of the bolt holes line up, 1 won't. But it will align perfectly fine if you just hog out one of the holes. That's the biggest thing we had to do, really. Bolts right up to the transmission. The bell housing is the same for a 727 as like the 46 series transmissions they use later. So it basically just bolted right in. No big deal. Of course, some of the other stuff has to change. I have a unique induction and fuel setup where I'm using a MSD Atomic 2, which is got a, you know, Holley style 4-barrel mounting pad it requires, and you got to run a 4-barrel intake. And if you're not familiar with the Magnum engine, they changed the bolt pattern on the heads on the intake side from being an angular bolt to a straight up and down bolt to accommodate for the keg style intake that comes on the factory ones. And that's all fine and good, except there are 3 intake manifolds in existence that are 4, counting the keg, that fit. There's an old Mopar M1 Magnum style, and those are really, I think they made one for the factory multi-port fuel injection and one for a 4-barrel. Those are unobtainium. They don't make them anymore. Nobody wants them. You know, Magnum engines are old news, whatever. Then there's the Edelbrock. They have an Edelbrock air gap that they sell. Those are great. But right now, they are very hard to find with supply chain delays and the fact that I believe Edelbrock is moving their factory from one end of the country to the other, or their foundry, as I should say. So stock is scarce if you can find one at all, and they're pretty expensive. They're almost $500, so it's a little bit prohibitive trying to do a budget install. The last option on the list, and what this truck has, is what I like to call the import intake. There's a number of brands that claim that they sell this intake. They're all the same. In fact, I bought 2 of them just to see. And I lined them up next to each other and they were identical. Basically, you can get them for around $200. They're an aluminum intake. They're made overseas. They have a dual bolt pattern, so you can actually run them on an LA engine if you really want to. But they also have the Magnum style up and down, straight up and down bolt holes. So in that case, and in our case, that's what we ended up using. So hang on, gotta pass this guy. Hang on. I should be out on my bike right now. That guy's smart. Anyway, so that's what we're running on this. The only caveat to that is you can't run AC. This truck does not have AC, so it's not a big deal right now. I'd like to put AC in the truck eventually, but not right now. The reason being is it's got an LA style water neck that's in the center of the intake. Now, on the Magnum engines, on the factory keg manifold, the water outlet for the thermostat is on the passenger side of the intake manifold. It's offset because they put the AC compressor on the right side. Now, they also make 2 alternator brackets for the serpentine setup on a Magnum engine. There's the no AC ones, which I was able to find at the same junkyard. And then there's the AC ones, which is an alternator / AC bracket, which is what this engine came with. And I tried test fitting it, would not fit. It hits stuff, you can't use it. So you just get the one out of a non-AC truck if you're going to use this this import manifold. It's not really a big deal, especially if you don't have AC in your truck or car or whatever. Eventually I'll probably swap to the Edelbrock style, just because I do want to put AC in this truck. It would be nice to have it. So that'll happen down the road. It doesn't have to happen right now. But for now, for all intents and purposes, this thing is a running, driving, workable truck. Been driving it for a few days since getting home, and yeah, this thing could be a daily driver. It's still a bit greedy on the gas, I will say. Still got some tuning there. I'd like to get some additional tuning to this particular tune I'm running, or maybe even create a miles per gallon tune for efficiency. Right now we're still getting sub or single digit mileage. Last tank, which had a lot of revving and troubleshooting and hammering on the gas to try to make the downshifting work and all this other stuff. Yeah, I got about 7.5. Not great, but we'll see what this next tank does. You know, the computer's still learning as well, so you never know. It might do better. I'm hoping to get double-digit mileage. I know that's a tall order for a 5,000-pound pickup truck from 1979, but you never know. See how it goes. But yeah, by the way, this road is a fantastic drive in a much more sporty handling car. This thing, it's a scenic slow drive. But beautiful area down here in Southeast Mass. Get some nice driving roads down here. Pretty lucky. Oh boy. Oh, we're turning. Should bring this thing to an autocross and see how it does. That would be funny. But yeah, so anything else I can think of about this swap? Basically, the swap was done in about a week and a half's time. The prep of the engine took a month or two, mainly because I got other stuff going on in my life. But you know, if I did this for a living, could have it done in a weekend. Do the whole swap in a few days, but it really wasn't that bad. I've done other motor swaps and all sorts of stuff, and I had one infamously take almost a year to complete. Trans Am. Sorry to my friend Greg again, which you saw earlier in the video. That lived at his house for damn near close to a year, and my apologies to you, sir. This time I was just on top of it. Need to do truck stuff. Gotta go to the dump. Gotta go to the Home Depot or the hardware store, or all that stuff. Gotta haul things. Gotta get rid of my scrap metal pile that's been building all year. Gotta do all that stuff. And when you gotta go to work and you need something to do it, you gotta get it done relatively fast. So, week and a half it took to get it done. Not bad, all things considered. Thanks to my wife for her patience of, oh, you're going back over there to work on it again. Big surprise. How about spending some time with me? She's very understanding. She's been dealing with my car habits since day one. So thank you, honey. Love you. Yeah, so, I mean, what more can I say? This thing, it runs great. It drives great. It's got plenty of power. It sounds fantastic. Sounds a little bit deeper than the 318 did. It's got some more cubes, so it's got a nice nice deep tone to the exhaust. And again, this exhaust is fantastic. It sounds incredible. It's nice and quiet cruising, and when you want to get on it, it'll let you know. It sounds fantastic. So yeah, well, I'm gonna keep driving here. I'm going to keep poking around these back roads of Southeastern Mass, stuck behind a delivery truck here. Hopefully I can get rid of that. Yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah. Fun, fun, fun. Ugh. But yeah. That's basically it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and have any questions about the Magnum swap or how to do it yourself, you can check out bankshift.com, where I've kind of documented the whole process there. in the build for the Project Power Laggin on there, so you can click the tag for Project Power Laggin and get the whole soup to nuts, the whole deal since we brought this thing home. And yeah, you know, hope you enjoy the content, and we'll have more soon. Bye.